Good evening, all. How are we? And welcome to our 599th YouTube show with Warriors of Attraction, of course. And today we've got a special treat for you. We've got a topic, autopilot versus conscious pilots. No, we're not talking about the pilot when you're flying a plane. But yeah, again, we could say we are on our own plane. But hey, we've got an amazing guest. You've seen him before, Christopher Rausche. I don't know what this guy cannot do. I really don't know, but I'm going to bring my co-host on, Andrea, and then we will do what we're good at. So, hello, Andrea.
Hey.
How are you?
How's it going? Good.
Getting there.
Good. Celebrating my auntie's birthday today.
No, happy birthday to her, wherever
So
she's
excited.
watching from, if she's tuning in.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
Happy
right.
birthday, Aunt Latifah.
I know. I did try opening our guest bio, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. But oh well, we can just guess what this guy does. But he does a lot. He does, because we've had him on a few times. So yeah, and by the way, Andrea is freezing today, not because it's winter here in the UK, just because tech issues, they're beautiful. But so yeah, we'll be a little bit patient with our Andrea today. A little bit patient.
Yes, we'll be patient.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah. Well, everyone, please share this, and we look forward to seeing all your questions in the comments. We'll be back in 30 seconds. See you soon. Hello, Christopher.
What's going on, dude? How are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, Andrea. Nice to see you. Excuse me. I have a cold today, so I apologize for that if I cough or if I sound nasally.
Nice
My
seeing
son
you
gifted
again,
me with his cold. How are you guys doing?
Well,
And
get well
congratulations on
soon.
your show. That's you guys have been doing this for a long time.
We have.
Yes.
We've been doing this for what? Come July next year, it'll be 3 years.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Well, a little bit of a fix. Get some peppermint tea down you. That should do it.
I'll take some of that.
Yeah, peppermint tea. Even though I've made my own medicine during this week, but hey, it's all right.
Nice.
Hey, when I was
We're
ill, I
one
made some
shy.
medicine and it worked.
One shy of 600 shows.
That is awesome. That is crazy. Yeah. I mean, I'm on show 184 for my podcast. I do it once a week, and I've been doing it since 2019. So you guys have really been hustling. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, if we want to end the stigma, we can't
to you
sit
too.
back and do nothing.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. Right.
That's what
Anyway,
we're here
friends,
for.
for people that don't know who you are, I'll give you the spotlight. For people that don't know who you are, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what magic you bring to the universe.
What magic I bring to the universe. I bring sarcasm, and I bring straightforward, no nonsense, straight ahead motivation, inspiration, and education of how to live a kick-ass, unstoppable life. Hi, guys. I am Christopher Rausche, your No Excuses coach. I'm the host of the Raw and Unscripted podcast, The Unfiltered Experience, and soon to be another one. But anyways, my life started off in not so kind of a beautiful way. I was born into a family with various psychological disorders, chemical dependencies, never knew my biological father, and experienced a lot of physical and mental abuse in my first younger years, let's say up until the age of 13. The physical and mental abuse in my house, the physical and mental abuse at school and on my way to and from school really set me on a path of not having any self-confidence, not having any ability really to kind of see the positive aspects of life. And when I was in the junior high school, phase of my life in the 7th grade here in the United States. I came home one day after school. I got expelled a couple of weeks earlier for fighting. I was the bully that became the bully. And I came home a couple of weeks after that, after getting expelled, and found out that my charming mother had spent the last bit of money that we had to pay the rent. She spent $5,000 to try to save a dying cat. And unfortunately, the cat still died. And as a result of her spending all that money, we wound up being evicted from our house. And so from the age of 13 to 17 years old, I spent my time living in the backseat of a station wagon with 18 cats and 2 dogs. That is no bullshit. We actually had 30 cats, but we could only catch 18 of them to get inside the car before the sheriff showed up. God's honest truth. I always forget to tell this, but when we became homeless right after that, we went back to the house every night for, I think, a week trying to find the other cats. And it was really embarrassing because some people would see us. And for me, it was devastating because I was no longer living in the house. I was living in the backseat of a station wagon. And so for the 4 ensuing years, between 13 years old and 17 years old, I had chemical dependencies myself, drug dependencies. My mental health was in the absolute shitter because I tried to commit suicide twice. Unfortunately, I sucked at it. And it wasn't until I decided that I have one of 3 options to be able to get out of this particular situation of being homeless and working 2 jobs and having my own addictions, was that I was either going to get out of that situation in a pine box, meaning I was going to be dead, or I was going to get out of it in a patrol car and wind up in jail because I was doing bad things. Or here's the thing, I decided that I would be having enough of this situation and actually have to go out and take responsibility for my life and stop taking care of my mother with her various psychological disorders. And I decided that I didn't want to end up jail. I didn't want to end up dead. And so I took that last path, and decided for myself that I was going to go attack life one-on-one and see what I could do with it. And ultimately through that experience, was able to get around some pretty smart people. And those people convinced me to go back to school. So I actually went back to school and got my general equivalency diploma, my GED. I made up 4 years of high school in about 3 months. And then from that point, my mentor suggested to me that I go to college, and I had no idea about college. I didn't think I was smart enough. My entire life, I was told I was stupid. I didn't do very good in school. My ADD and my ADHD, whatever, my hearing deficiency and things like that just did not set me up to be a great student. And so I thought, okay, if I'm going to go to college, I'm just going to have to take it one step at a time. And I did that one step at a time for 12 years and ultimately graduated with a master's degree the same year I bought my first house. So there is kind of the very eclipsed version of Christopher Rausche's life. And from that point forward, I've done nothing but continue to try to improve myself and to make the world a better place, and to really raise awareness for mental health, and to raise awareness for the fact that we all have responsibilities in our life to take better care of ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And then to take that gift that we give ourselves and to go share that with the world to make this world a better place, not only for ourselves, but for our kids and our kids' kids. So I'm excited to be here on this conversation, and looking forward to sharing some insights on the topic today about being on autopilot or conscious pilot. So thank you, Adam, and thank you, Andrea, for having me here. I appreciate you guys.
Andrea, what do you think?
Thank you so much for being here. Wow. I could resonate with some of the things of your life, you know what I'm saying? But look where you've come today. And, you know, this subject of conscious pilot, and yeah, I'm getting ready to learn something today. You know what I mean? So I'm quite excited about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me here, and I'm excited to talk about it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's kick off and basically explain to those viewers that have not got a clue what autopilot and conscious pilot is, explain what it is and how it can actually impact and actually benefit our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're going to have varying perspectives about this because we're all three unique individuals with 3 different types of upbringing. But when I think about autopilot versus conscious pilot, I think about autopilot is that place where we're just existing in life. We're just kind of going through the processes of life, and we're just kind of like being more reactive than responsive in things. And I think about being a conscious pilot. I think about being very intentional about the choices and the decisions and the actions that we're taking to make sure they're in alignment and they're congruent with our bigger values and our bigger mission of why we're actually here having this human experience. So I think with autopilot, you know, some of those things that can really kind of negate our journey as we get on the autopilot and we realize that life is okay. And I don't think any of us are here to have an okay life. I think all of us are here to have an amazing life. But I think with that autopilot, we tend to get into ruts, and we tend to get into habits and behaviors that perhaps aren't in the best interest for our greater good. We get into our addictions, whether they're television, sex, gambling, drugs, alcohol, any addiction that you want, shopping. I've been dealing with some people lately that have a phone addiction. Like, they can't put their phone down. They literally can't put their phone down. It's alarming. It's mind blowing, but people have those addictions. They're addicted to that social connection. They're the social media connection. And I think that, for a lot of people that are on autopilot, they're just meandering. They're trying to wait, and they're hoping and wishing and praying that someday they're going to find the panacea of what life really is. And I think the people that are conscious pilots are those people that are sitting there saying, okay, listen, I may have been through some terrible times in my life, like myself and like you guys, but I'm going to choose to be aware. I'm going to choose to be awake, and I'm going to choose to be conscious of, is this for my greater good? Yes or no? And if something's not for my greater good, yes or no, then what actions do I need to take to support the fact that I love myself and I care about myself and that I'm here to have this bigger impact? So I really think that autopilot situation is a lot of what people are dealing with right now. And I believe it's self-imposed. And I think that, with the proper guidance and the proper proactive steps that we can all take for ourselves to educate ourselves, especially now in this day of age with the internet. I was just talking to a class earlier today, and I told this college class, I said, literally, you guys have all the answers right in your phone. Like, you can ask Google and you can find out all the answers to how to overcome something. But yet so many people don't even take that step to get themselves out of that complacency mode, out of that autopilot mode, to be in that conscious pilot mode. So I hope that the discussion today really inspires you guys to sit there and take responsibility for your life and realize that life is happening for you and not to you. What do you guys think? What are your definitions of autopilot versus conscious pilot?
Andrea?
With you, with the autopilot, conscious pilot. Can you hear me?
Little bit.
Am I froze?
Oh, you're back. You're back.
Am I froze still? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze.
Okay.
We might have a challenging conversation with Andrea today.
Probably. I know there's a hurricane going on.
Is she in Florida?
You gotta love the internet.
On Nebraska.
A hurricane in Nebraska or a tornado?
No, there's a hurricane going around in America somewhere, but I ain't got a clue where.
Oh. Hopefully everybody's safe.
Yeah.
It's really windy here. Pretty windy.
Oh, that's why.
Okay. Where are you, Chris?
I'm in Southern California, born and raised.
Okay.
Well, anyway, obviously I'll answer your question.
My daddy.
I'll answer your question while Andrea tries coming back to us. Subconscious and autopilot. Conscious. Basically, it's your mindset. And we are letting negative thoughts live in our mindset rent free. And
yes.
and thing is, we need educating on this. Yeah, it's good enough to look on Google and your phone or your laptop, whatever, but really it should go much deeper than that. It should actually be led down to the kids, like when they're going through school and stuff like that. They need to be taught about these things, but they
100%.
don't. And that's what pisses me off.
Well, when something pisses you off, that's a great opportunity for us to go out there and be the change that we bitch about. So I love the fact that, that's one thing that I'm very passionate about. Actually, I have another podcast coming out pretty soon called The Visioneering 5. And it's all about us, 5 different personalities really uniting together to help parents have a deeper connection with their kids and help the parents learn more about themselves to be able to have that better connection with their kids and, teach them some of the things that they don't learn in school. Because I was just saying this morning, my son is in kindergarten. And we were talking about the fact that wouldn't it be great if they, in kindergarten and first grade, they started learning about life skills. They started learning about the perspective of being in control of their thoughts and their emotions and not reactionary to different things. But instead, they're learning integers and fractions and stuff like that. Most of us are never going to use in our entire life, but the life skills are what needs to be in there. So we're going to launch this podcast as our way of being a contributor to the solution rather than to the problem.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about, because at the end of the day, people do need to look at the difference between the subconscious and conscious mindset. And it's all about the communication. But you don't get taught that anywhere. And this is one of the reasons why I'm going to be home educating my daughter, well, one of my daughters, because I can teach her these things, because she's struggling, and like she knows about like depression and anxiety and how it impacts you, but she doesn't know the emotional side. She doesn't know how to communicate with her own emotions. And that's what I'm here to do, is help her with that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, fair enough. She should be learning this in school, but she doesn't.
Yes.
How old is your daughter?
Well,
9.
That's where the responsibility of us as parents comes in.
Yeah. But it shouldn't be our responsibility, though. It should be the teachers. So that's why all teachers, I do admit there's some good teachers out there. I do admit that. But the ones that just cannot get off their ass and actually do the job properly and teach these kids and actually educate them on the truth.
Yeah, I think it's a community situation. I think that if you want to see change in your kids, that the parents have to actually step up and be more present in their kids' lives. And I'll tell you guys a story. I just recently had my very first parent-teacher conference with my son's teacher the other day, last week, and we were talking about all the things that we do with him. We read to him every night. We do his homework with him. You know, we talk about the protocols that we have to make sure that he's getting the most out of his education. And I could tell by the body language of the teacher that we were exceptional. And I just plain out asked her, I said, aren't other parents having this much involvement in their kids? And she's like some kids aren't even doing their homework. The parents are so absent and so checked out and are so into their own lives and their own world that they're not being present with their own kids. And yet they're going to sit there and they're going to blame society and everybody else why their kids are screwed up, when the fact is that they need to be more connected and involved in their kids' lives. And that's why we become parents. Our kids become our number one priority aside from ourselves. And that's what one of the big messages I want to get across to people watching this today and listening to this today is that you have to take responsibility for yourself. You got to stop blaming society and your parents and everything else as to why you're screwed up today. You need to sit there and say, what can I do for myself today that by tomorrow I'll have a little bit better edge on what the things that I want most in my life. And so oftentimes we are on that autopilot. And I coach a lot of people and I talk to a lot of people every single day. And a majority of people are out there hoping, wishing, and praying that someday they're going to have this panacea or there's some awakening that suddenly their life is going to be better. But those people, you know what they end up with at the end of their life? Regrets. Because they sat there and they hope, wished, and prayed, when actually we all have to take responsibility and action for our lives to be proactive instead of reactive, and sit there and decide for ourselves, who am I associating myself with? Who are the people that are in my world, in my life right now? Are they constructive or are they destructive? You got to put them into a category and then decide for yourself. You're like the 5 people you're around the most. So look at the people you're around the most. Are they just like you? Are you the smartest person in the room? If you are, then you need to get different people in your life. And that sucks. And it's hard to let people go. I let my sister go in 2005. I watched her well. I was like, you're batshit crazy, lady. I'm not going to do it, because she was a victim. And it was unbelievable. I was the one that went through the homelessness. My sister has a biological father that was in her life. He remarried. She had a normal life and everything else, but she was such a victim because she chose to be on that autopilot. She chose to sit there and society owes me something. And I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I got to wish you well, sister. And I never look back, and I don't have any regrets for that. So we got to take responsibility for our ownership in our lives and be able to get around the right people that are going to lift us up and want us to go out there and make those imperfect actions and those imperfect decisions, because everything is working for us for our greater good if we really have that perspective. What do you guys think?
Andrea?
I think it's developing a greater sense of personal power. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Greater sense of personal power.
That's what I think. Because that's what you're talking about, shifting from autopilot to being responsible for your happiness. And it doesn't have to be autopilot. To me, like I'm on a time frame. I'm on a time. I got to do this, do this to get here. To me, having a conscious, mindset, or what we're saying, pilot, I call it human pilot.
Human pilot. Being
gracious with ourselves. Yeah, being gracious with ourselves. You know what I mean? And just having a sense of responsibility for our happiness.
Yes.
That's what it all kind of boils down to for me.
Absolutely. And to add on to both of you, I learned a couple of things from someone who lives in Newcastle, Australia. He's called Alan Stevens, and he says when you're pointing at someone and you're blaming that person, you're so brainwashed because one finger's on them, but three's pointing back at yourself.
Yes.
And very little % of people actually notice that.
It's very true. Very true. I mean, we sit there and I was just telling somebody recently, I said, when you're casting judgment upon somebody else or a prejudice against somebody else, that's something within yourself that you don't like. So when you're sitting there saying that person's lazy, that person's this or that, there's something about within inside of yourself that you don't like, and you're projecting that onto somebody else. So when we find that we're making judgments about other people or ridiculing other people, then we have to sit there and look within ourselves. What is it about my own self that I don't appreciate or enjoy? Because when you're happy with yourself and you have that self-love, not what anybody else is doing or thinking is going to matter. You're going to want the best for other people, but you're not going to sit there and look at it. Oh, the world is screwed up because of those people. No, the world is screwed up because we're sitting there pointing at those people instead of being the light and the helping hand for those people, for them to get better and stronger.
Exactly. And this is where the conscious pilot kicks in, because at the end of the day, like for example, and it's just prime example, the war that's happening between Ukraine and Russia, which I think the UK is getting involved. Then COVID and stuff like that. Then whatever else is coming on, like climate change and all that. We are choosing, so it's a choice to let all these events impact our lives. We don't have to. Yeah, I admit people have been struggling. Same with this cost of living crisis. Yeah, fair enough, things are hard, but it's not impossible. You're maybe finding things hard, yes, but you're not finding things impossible to get through the day, to wake up, get through the day, then fall asleep, then wake up next day. You're not. That's not impossible. That can happen. But either way, it's same with mental health as well. Like that. Be great. People need to be grateful for actually being awake. Like everyone sees, for example, making your bed as a chore. You don't need to. Don't see it as a chore. See it as an achievement, as an acknowledgement, and then accept that you've actually, because that's something huge, just getting up and making your bed. And then, if that's it, get something to eat, get a little drink, and then just sit on the sofa all day. And if your house is a mess that day, so what? At least you've done something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And how do you feel when you envision those achievements and those acknowledgments for yourself? What do we envision is a good question to ask ourselves. I think to take us autopilot to the conscious or human pilot that I speak of. Because look at things. Is there anything that you cherish that you could rather be pursuing than sitting in the blind thing?
Oh, she was getting onto something.
I was stigmatized. Looking,
I'm trying to get it.
Try him.
What do you cherish?
What do we cherish? Just the life you're living. That's all. Just your life. Because for example, Andrea and Chris, my son said the other week that he doesn't get anything from us and he hates his life and stuff like that. He actually told me that. I'm like, right, okay. So in a way, I wasn't being an idiot for this. I actually went along with him. I'm like, okay, let's have this conversation. You say you hate life. Okay, why? He went, I don't know. I'm like, okay then, right. Picture this. Let me take you down to a street, look for any people that's actually living on the street, and then let me take you into a hospital where people are actually fighting to stay alive. And then let me bring you back home and let me show you yourself in the mirror. Then ask yourself the question, do you really hate your life? He didn't want to do that because I like exactly because you may hate your life now, but either way, you're still rich. Not because of money, because you're getting clean clothes, you got hot dinner every single night, you've got a roof over your head, you've got a nice warm bed at nights, you've got all this, you've got access to the internet whenever you want, access to a hot shower whenever you want. People are less fortunate out there.
Big time.
And it actually made him think. Getting a 10-year-old autistic child who hates authority to think. I think that's an achievement for me.
Hell yeah. I mean, when you do what you're talking about, Adam, is the fact that we just got to shift our perspective. You know, so many times we're trying to get people to shift their perspective in a grandiose way. But to your point, I mean, that's brilliant to sit there and say, you know, and here's an example. We have what's called a reticular activation system in our brain. It's called the RAS system. So like when you think about buying a new car, you're like, okay, I'm going to go get a red Hyundai. And then you're driving around, and you see red Hyundais everywhere because now you put it as a focal point in your brain. If I tell you to look around in your room right now and say, tell me everything that's blue, you can be like, that's blue, that's blue, that's blue, that's blue, that's blue, that's blue. And then I sit there and go, okay, tell me what was green. You're going to say, Chris, you asked me what was blue. And the same thing goes. So most people are looking at what they don't have instead of looking at what they do have. So when you look at what you don't have, you find more opportunities to say, oh, well, I don't have that. And that person has that relationship. And that person has that car. That person has that job. That person has that career. I see them on social media. They look so happy. I want that for myself. I don't have that for myself. What's wrong with me? But instead, when you shift that and sit there and say, what can I be grateful for in this moment? I'm breathing on my own. I can go to the bathroom on my own. I can make choices for myself. And the biggest thing, honestly, for me, guys, is the fact that most of us have this. This is the end all be all. Like literally, if you want to know the answer to something, you could sit there and go Google it. You could find out, you can seek out the information, but so many people want to sit there and be miserable. Yeah. And to your point, Andrea, the question that we can ask ourselves when we're in those situations, like, when did it become acceptable to be mediocre? When did it become acceptable to be a victim? And then if we're honest with ourselves and we sit there and say, you know what? I know I'm being complacent or I'm being a victim right now, but it's never been acceptable. I've just kind of just been here, and I've just kind of been in this autopilot rut for a majority of my life because I don't know anything different. And in those situations, we can sit there and say, okay, what's one action? What's one action I can take that by which doing so is going to set me on a different path of taking personal responsibility and accountability for my actions and my choices, to not sit there and say, oh, I'm this way because of this. I'm this way. If we start putting excuses and blame on other things, then that takes the responsibility out of our lives, and everything is up to us. No matter what situations have happened in our lives, we can sit there and have the perspective like life is happening to me, which so many people are. They're in the victim state. I'm this way because my parents were abusive. I'm this way because I never had my dad. I was that kind of stuff. Or we can sit there and say that life is happening for us. And in that perspective, like, what am I supposed to be learning from this? What am I supposed to be gaining from this particular situation that's going to allow me to move forward? And then furthermore, not only become stronger, but be able to help other people down the road to have this strength and this resiliency. It's just a matter of just shifting a little bit and getting around the right people. Because so often we're around people who will say that, yeah, you're right. You know, you are screwed up because your parents were this. Oh yeah, you're right. You're screwed up because you have autism, or you're screwed. No, you're not. You have a unique ability and opportunity to rise above no matter what your circumstances are. I interviewed this lady. Her name's Unstoppable Tracy. She's been on both of my shows. She literally has no arms and no legs. She knows how to drive a boat. She became a pilot. She is out there doing those things, and she has no arms and no legs. She has a little chick. She calls it her chicken foot or something like that. And then she has like one I think it's one leg that has an ability for her to grab something. I can't remember exactly how it is, but that woman is so inspiring. And she doesn't sit there and wait for people to come to her and say, oh, here, let me help you. She sits there and she goes, what do I have to do? Okay, I want to become a part of the sailing club. And so she actually went from, I think, New York or Canada down to Florida and basically camped out on this guy's porch and said, I want to do this so bad that I would be willing to work for you for free. I will wash boats. I'll do whatever I need to do. And this guy did not take sympathy or pity on her. And he put her through the paces, and she did everything she needed to do because she wanted it that bad, and ultimately has created the life for herself. But now she stands on stages and tells people, yeah, I wish I had arms and legs and stuff like that. But if I did, then I wouldn't have the appreciation for life that I do, because I've decided that it's not going to limit me and hold me back. Absolutely.
And you get this saying, people keep saying, oh, there's lack of opportunities out there, all that bullshit. You know what? While you were talking then, Chris, I actually found a post I shared today. And it's from CEO Mindset. And it's about life is about choices, because everything's a choice. It doesn't matter what it is, it's a choice.
Yep.
You can either start a business for $1,000, too much. Buy a new iPhone, same price, no problem. You buy healthy groceries for $100, too much. But you buy fast food and drinks, same price, no problem. You watch Netflix for 2 hours, or let's just watch one more episode, or you'll learn a new skill. Same time, and it's literally no time. No time to lose it. So it's like literally, life is about choices. Stop blaming the lack of opportunity, and you got to choose.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
There really is. It's black and white in that respect.
And sometimes you have to watch Netflix. Sometimes you just need that. That's called not being on autopilot.
Yeah.
That's being in conscious pilot. I'm over here taking care of myself, watching as many episodes as I want to show because I work hard every day, telling yourself differently. I deserve to sit here and chill and watch.
Yeah. And this is why I keep saying, and
work.
And this is why I keep saying that this ain't me being age discriminating or anything like that, but kids today have not got a clue how to be kids. They haven't, because us as kids in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, we was never freaking inside.
Yep.
We were never in. But kids today, Xboxes, PlayStations, new phones, trying to keep up with the trend. It's like, what are you doing? No wonder young teenagers have bad mental health problems. No wonder.
It's true. I mean, so what are some of the recommendations that you guys find in your particular work and experience? Because I want to learn from you as well. What are some of the recommendations we could do to encourage people to get out of that autopilot state and take responsibility for their actions in their lives?
Or definitely communicate with your inner self.
What they can do differently. Start today.
Yeah.
Thinking about what you could do differently. You know, how can I, if it's something you're interested in, research it. And like you said, instead of making the choice to be on social media, all up in every Facebook, you could be doing something more constructive with and do some research and find out steps to do what it is you want to do.
Exactly.
There's videos that'll show you how to do things.
And this is why I used to be, and I'm going to admit straight up, I used to be a lazy piece of shit. I did. And that was when I became a parent. But before that, I was an athlete. I was going to college. I was playing football almost every single day. I loved it. But now I don't play football. But what I've done is I've actually shifted. I've transformed my life. I've lost weight, as people can see, because I feel a lot healthier. Give up all the crap. That all the processed shite, and yeah, I go to university now at my age. Do I give a shit? No, I don't. Sweet. I mix people with like 17, 18, 20, 30-year-olds. I mix with them because I'm not on this planet to make friends. I'm not. I'm here to deliver a message, and that is to end this stigma of mental health and disability discrimination and build this global community to end this. And that's what I'm doing. Friends are overrated now. I don't give a shit about that. Family, yeah. The only people I've got in my life now is my kids. That's all. But is it hard? Yeah, of course I'm finding things hard. I am. I really am struggling, but I'm not finding it impossible.
Yeah. And that's so important, Adam. I mean, I love that you said that, because when people sit there and tell me, like, I'm the no excuses coach. So people sit there and say, but Chris, that's going to be hard. I'm like, but it's going to be worth it. So how are you going to argue with me? Yeah, it's going to be hard. But anything in life, when we think about our lives, guys, think about your own respective journey. And you guys watching this and listening to this, think about your own respective journeys. When have you learned and grown the most? When things were easy or when things were challenging? Of course, when things were challenging. So if you look at the fact that, hey, I went through this thing and God knows I don't want to repeat it again. I never want to be homeless again. Sure, shit, I don't want to be that. But when I sit there and I look at, like, have I survived 100% of all the different challenges in my life? Yes. Is it reasonable to expect I'm going to survive 100% of the next challenges in my life? Yes. So what do I need to do to shift that perspective, to sit there and take that ownership and that responsibility to say, okay, what part of the solution can I be? What part of the solution? Am I being part of the problem, and am I being part of the solution? And bitching and complaining and moaning and groaning is not being a part of the solution.
What are you achieving from that?
Yeah, nothing. No. And so you have to get clear. You have to get clear about what it is that you want most, and then prioritize that. And one of the biggest, factors that I can say about my life is surrounding myself with people who are brighter and smarter than me, because I used to be the smartest guy in the room. And while it felt amazing and great for my ego, it was not moving me any closer. So back in 2013, I spent $5,000 of money that I did not have, put it on my credit card, and I joined a mastermind. And I got around some brilliant people, and I was in that mastermind for nearly 3 years, and I was able to accomplish so much. I ditched the suit and tie because I was doing the suit and tie speaking. I just wanted to be Chris. I just wanted to be me, kick ass, unstoppable. And so getting around those people, they encouraged me to take that imperfect action. They encouraged me to get real with my insecurities and sit there and say, okay, where's the validation in that? Where just because somebody said I was stupid or just somebody said I couldn't do something, I'm going to live in their truth? No, that's ridiculous. I can sit there and decide for myself right now and today that it's going to be imperfect action. But the ultimate sum of what I'm saying is that it's going to be challenging. But ladies and gentlemen, on the other side of it, it's going to be worth it. And there's a great documentary out there. It's called The Joseph Campbell Story, The Hero's Journey, Finding Joe. It's on YouTube. It's like an hour and 23 minutes. It's free. You guys can all go watch it. And I promise you, when you give it that attention and you give it that credit that it deserves, and you see what that hero's journey is, it's in all of our movies. It's in all of our movies. It's in Wizard of Oz. It's in Star Wars. You know, the young guy goes out there and he makes all these mistakes and trials and tribulations and almost, gives up, but then he rises above and he succeeds. And we're rooting for that guy. We want that guy to win. We want that guy to win because inside of us, we feel like we can't do that, but that person can. So we're going to live vicariously through them. But the fact is, this is so true. I'm a former 7th grade homeless dropout. I was told I was stupid. I was beat up by everybody in my life. I was abandoned by most of the people in my life. And yet here I stand before you guys today, happily married to somebody I've been married to for 15 years, together for 21 years. We have an amazing son who's going to be 6 years old. We adopted him from birth. I'm talking to you guys over the internet on cameras impacting the world. Everybody can do it. It's just a fact of the desire of what you're going to do.
Exactly. And you've just inspired me there to actually think of something where when that guy, and it was actually true, where the guy obviously went hiking and he fell into a few rocks, like in between it, and he got his arm stuck.
Oh, did you see that movie?
A big boulder was on his arm. And he
28 days or something like that, wasn't it? It was called 28 days.
Yeah, something like that. And he had a choice. He could either stay there and die or chop your arm off and survive. And he chopped his arm off.
That is probably the very, very graphic version of what I'm talking about, but it's true. Like, you got to do what you got to do to get where you got to go. No excuses, no blame, no shame. Get there and do that. Take that imperfect action, because we're so worried about making mistakes and failing. Like, what is that person going to think? And I don't want to make some mistakes. Like, no, you take imperfect action every single time, and you realize that those mistakes are actually learning opportunities. It's a mistake if you do it 3 times in a row. Like, okay, obviously you're not getting it. But if you learn something and you grow from that thing and you continue to make that progress, that's how I got through school. That's literally how I got through going back and getting my GED when I thought I was stupid, going to college when I really didn't think there was any opportunity for me to go to college, much less be in a graduate program with all these smart people who were super intelligent, and then ultimately getting to walk alongside them to get my graduate degree. That's amazing. I mean, such an accomplishment lets me know that there's nothing that's impossible for any one of us, no matter what's going on in our life.
And just take the word impossible there. I am possible.
All you have to do is ask yourself one question. I'm sorry. You just
What's
have to
that
ask
question?
yourself
Go on.
one question. Where do you want to be in 1, 3, 5, 10 years? Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be? You know what I'm saying? That was a profound question in interviews. You know what I'm saying? When you go for a job. That was the question that stuck the most, because it makes you reflect on yourself. And what are the possibilities? And don't be afraid to dream big, because you can achieve whatever it is you want.
Yes.
Now that's that Tom Sawyer mentality, being adventurous with your life, and not on autopilot, but on conscious human pilot.
Amen, sister.
Finding what you love to do.
Exactly.
What you love to do.
I'm in 2 minds about this one as well, where we all know we have got choice and all that, but when someone sleeps, now we know how important sleep is, but when someone sleeps, for example, 8 hours in the day, like 8 hours at night, it's actually come out that if you're sleeping that long, people are actually getting up and they're succeeding in life, or while you're there sleeping. That's what it is. So I'm in 2 minds when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. One of the things I think about, guys, when we're talking about this conversation, when people ask me, like, Chris, what can I do? I've given, during COVID and the pandemic worldwide, I've given probably at least 175 to 200 coaching sessions for free to people, just as my way of using my skills and my gifts to keep people inspired, keep them lifted up during, the lockdown and everything else. And during that time, guys, I started hearing this whisper in my brain that was telling me to ask these people, do you love yourself? Yes or no? And I thought it was a really stupid question, but I heard this little whisper. I've been learning better to listen to this whisper. And I sat there and I asked the first person, I said, I'm going to ask you a question and I don't want you to think about it too hard, but do you love yourself? Yes or no? And I was on a Zoom call just like this, looking straight into their faces. And 75% of, let's say 200 people struggled with answering that question wholeheartedly, saying, yes, absolutely. I love myself, Chris. Most people are like, well, yeah, I sort of do. Well, I don't love this about myself. And like, okay, then the next question would be, okay, talk to me about your self-care, your self-love. How do you show love for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
They were just like this. And I'm like, okay, here's how you can show love for yourself. Your body is comprised of 70 to 80% water. Just
I watch Netflix all day.
Right. So I asked them, like, how is your hydration? Do you drink water? Oh, no, I need to do that. I'm like, okay, what do you drink? Oh, I drink sodas. I drink coffee. I don't drink anything. I'm like, okay, so you are automatically, you're 70 to 80% water. You're dehydrated. So you're not making the best decisions because you're foggy brained and everything else. Yes, you got to have your water. And I ask them about their sleep. Oh yeah, I sleep like 2 or 3 hours a night. I can't really sleep much. I'm like, okay, are you looking at your phone? Are you watching stuff before you go to sleep? Do you have a wind down procedure? Because I actually study sleep. I wear an Oura ring. It's a sleep device. So I was like, okay, let me study my sleep and see if I'm getting REM sleep. Am I getting deep restorative sleep? I may be sleeping because maybe I'm a little buzzed or drunk or something like that. But is the quality of my sleep restoring my body and restoring my mind and everything else? No. Okay, what's your food intake like? Are you eating stuff that's got vegetables in it? Are you eating fruits? Are you eating lean meats? No, I eat fast food. I don't have time. Okay, talk to me about your exercise. Well, I know I should work. So they're not hydrating. They're not sleeping very well. They're eating like shit. They're
Negligence.
And they're wondering why they are not operating at maximum efficiency. So I ask them another question. I'm like, okay, tell me about the person you love most in your life. Okay, it's my daughter. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you be willing to do for your daughter? Would you be willing to take a bullet for your daughter? Yes. Everybody, without a doubt, answers 10. And I'm like, okay, so let me ask you, how are you feeling right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Physically, mentally, spiritually, right now, how are you feeling? Most people cap out at us, and I usually tell them 7's not a number because most people will pick 7. This is the truth. Watch this. Most people, when you ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, they'll pick 7 because it's just above being complacent, mediocre, lazy, but it's not quite enough to be great. So they can sit there and not be embarrassed and say, well, I'm a 7. So I tell them, take 7 out of the equation. So you either got to be really into it or you're not into it. So I get them to be clear with themselves. And I find out that they're like operating at a 5. I'm like, okay, so you love your daughter at a 10. You want everything for your daughter, but you're operating from a 5. You're not giving your daughter a 10. You're giving your daughter a 5. And if she deserves a 10, that starts with you. But we're brought up to be not selfish and to put everybody else first and to worry about. No, you got to take care of yourself first. That's why the oxygen mask in an airplane comes down over your face first, so you can take care of other people. And yet so many people deny that about themselves. And the people that I've coached, that's one of the things we work on. I'm not a health fitness expert by any means, but just those 4 areas, within 3 months, their physiology, everything changes about them. Like, God, Chris, I didn't realize how shitty I felt. Because you don't know what you don't know until you're on the other side of those
things. And even then, when it comes to exercising, you don't need to go to the gym. You don't. I've got an exercise app on my phone, which I look at and exercise every single day. Every day.
There's no excuses anymore. There's not. I don't go to the gym. Like you can do body exercises, body weight exercises. It's you can go on and you can look at a workout on YouTube. There's no excuses anymore. I mean,
and even then, like I tell my kids, like I'm not just a parent to my kids. I'm a coach as well, and that's why I think that is the best relationship you can have with your kids when you're a coach as well. And I try and bring the best out in them. And I tell them all the time. And I've been called selfish for saying it, but I don't give a shit. Because in the day, I said that my life is more important than them combined.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not selfish. It's self-love.
It is.
Right.
My life's more important.
Yeah. You do have to take care of yourself at all. You can't help notice. My mom tells me this all the time because I'm an empath. I want to help everybody. And she always let me know, take care of you first, honey. Rest and do the that you need to do so that you can be optimal for yourself. Because you can't do nothing for nobody else if you don't take care of you. You'll be laying there stuck, can't move or dead, then what? What good are you? You know what I mean? So yeah, you do. We have to take care of ourselves. Self-love is important. Love yourself.
It's mandatory. It's not even just important. It's a mandatory. It's critical, because I've seen it with people. Like the coaching helped them, but just the fact of them starting to take care of themselves and prioritize their wants and their needs. Here's another thing that I can give you guys as an example of something that can work with my coaching clients. I'll sit there and I'll say, like, what are you tolerating? Because oftentimes we're tolerating stuff that we're not even aware anymore, because we are on autopilot. It just becomes our nature. Okay, I got to make the kids lunch. I got to clean up after everybody. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And when you catch yourself saying, I have to do something, that's an immediate opportunity for you to say, do I really have to do it? Or is there a way that I can delegate this to somebody else? And I had a coaching client recently who was like, Chris, you don't understand. I got to make the lunches. I would literally, I got to fold their clothes and do their clothes. I'm like, what would happen if you got hit by a bus tomorrow and no longer were you there to do these things? What would happen? Would your kids and your husband not have clean clothes? Would they not take lunches to work? Well, no. I'm like, okay, so what needs to happen in order for you to be able to communicate to them to say, listen, I have been over and extending myself for quite some time. I need your help. I need your involvement. I want to go back to school. I want to have a couple of hours a night to start my own business, whatever it might be. I need your help. What would you need to do? Oh, Chris, you don't understand. My husband and no. I just excuses. If you were dead tomorrow, they would have to figure something out. You need to fucking figure it out for yourself and have those conversations. And I can tell you guys, when they write down what they're tolerating from themselves, what they're tolerating from other people, and what they're tolerating from inanimate objects, like the door on the car always sticks and you have to sit there and fiddle with the key. The washing machine, you have to open the door and close the door in order for it to go on the spin. Whatever it might be that you put up and you tolerate, when you make that list, and I do this with my clients, the first week they put like 4 or 5 things under each category. And I'm like, are you sure? And I already know them enough to know that they're tolerating way more than that. They're just not being honest with themselves, or they're embarrassed to like say, yeah, I'm tolerating a lot. And so I say, go out through the next week and really take that pen and paper or use your recorder feature on your phone and come back to me with a different list. And embarrassingly enough, they come back like, oh my God, Chris, like I added like 30 things. I'm like, okay, just imagine for a second, if you cut the low hanging fruit, maybe 5 things that you no longer did anymore, you no longer tolerated, what would that open up for you in your life?
Yeah.
And you could see they're like, oh my God, I'd be able to do this. I'd be like, okay, so let's make that happen. And if the people in your life do not want to support you and make that happen, then you need to make decisions. Like if your husband and your kids don't want to have to help you and they want to hold you back and they think that you're the maid and you're the slave, maybe you need to get a divorce. Maybe
even then, what my daughter said to me yesterday was absolutely freaking priceless, because she's 9-year-old. She wants help with her own mental health because she is struggling. She is. But the education system don't see that. So I've noticed it. And she said to me, so like, Dad, I want to go hiking. I'm like, brilliant.
Yes.
So yeah. So that's what we're going to plan. If it's in the code, who cares? Like even then, when I brought her home from school the other day, last week it was, obviously she kept saying halfway up, oh, my leg's tired. I'm like, okay, good. She's like, no, I want to get a taxi. I'm like, no, you're not. When you're with your mum, you get a taxi. When me, you walk. And even then, no pain, no gain. Keep reminding yourself of that. No pain, no gain. And even then, you just have to keep moving. Keep moving, because walking, it helps with your immune system, helps with your mindset, helps with your mental health. It helps with everything.
100%.
Yeah.
Just taking a 20-minute walk a day and listening to something in your headphones, some positive content, starting your morning like that, wake up 20 minutes before the rest of the house, go take a walk, get some positive feedback in your brain going. It's incredible what you can do. Because I mean, we sit there and we think about owning our lives and we think about the totality of everything, but today is all we have. This moment right now is what we have. And as we continue to build on those moments and continue to find strength and resiliency within those capacities that we know we have, then it's pretty incredible what it is that we can figure out that we're tolerating and put an end to that stuff and realize that our perspective about pain, we sit there and we think about this. And I did a study on this for myself. We always want to avoid pain. Oh, if we have pain, then we're supposed to stop. If you're in pain, stop. We get that stuff when we're kids. But when you realistically look at it and go, maybe pain is the thing that's telling me to move. Like literally, I've had back pain since 2006. I've had a back surgery in 2019. I had a 2-level fusion. It was a miserable experience. But before I went into that surgery, I said, okay, how can I research people who have experienced tremendous amounts of pain, but still went through that? And so I don't know if you guys have heard about a guy named David Goggins. He's huge here in the States. So you've heard of David Goggins. So we call it the Goggins theory. Like that guy is, he's not even human, I don't even think. So I'm not saying for people to be Goggins, but I'm sitting there saying, okay, maybe a perspective of pain says, maybe it's going to be painful for this moment, but on the other side of that, I'm going to heal and I'm going to get stronger. Like we go to the gym, it hurts the next day. Like our muscles hurt, but we know that our muscles are repairing themselves and becoming stronger. So for me, when I read David Goggins' book, I was just like, wow, this guy like sits there and goes, yeah, the pain's there, but I don't have to be the pain. I don't have to be the pain. The pain is there. I do not have to acknowledge it. And I recognize, and I'm not a doctor by any means, so don't hold me to this. But for me, when I went through that back surgery, and I had to start walking, that they wanted me to walk the next day. There was no way I was going to walk the next day. It was mind blowing. But on that second day, when they said, come on, Mr. Rausche, we got to walk around the hospital floor, I sat there and I said, I'm going to disassociate myself from the pain. The pain is going to be there, but I'm going to disassociate. And I'm still going to take every step, because as I take those steps, my body's going to loosen up. My body's going to feel better. And through that process of thinking about David Goggins, I was able to reframe my perspective about pain, so that later on when I was walking, I'm like, maybe the pain is there to tell me something, that some part of my body is weak, and I need to go out there and become stronger through this pain so that I can end the pain. But so oftentimes we stop and we get complacent. Like you said, we get on autopilot, and then we kind of go down that rabbit hole, and we go down that vicious cycle of insanity. And then ultimately, what do? At the end of the day, and I've talked to people about this, we wind up looking back on our life, we're regretting the fact of the chances that we didn't take and the responsibilities we didn't take. There's a book out there called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one regret of this hospice nurse who sat next to these people dying time after time again, the number one regret is that people didn't live the life they wanted to live, that they lived the life they thought they were supposed to live. So if mom and dad wanted you to become a lawyer, you went to law school and you went and did that for your entire life. You were miserable at it. And now you're dying. And now you're like, man, I wanted to be a ballerina. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to paint. I wanted to do these things, but I didn't do it. That's nobody's fault except for that person's. And that's the thing that I don't want to see for people, is to have those regrets and ultimately live their life in the capacity that they were meant to be here. We're all meant to be here for greatness.
Absolutely. And going off that, I've got 2 football injuries from when I was in college back in 2010. I've got a really bad back pain, which, because I used to be a goalkeeper, so I was diving around like there's no tomorrow. So I've got back pain, which is there every single day. And I've even broken my finger. Have I ever got my finger checked? No, I haven't. It's broke. It's literally the bones come out of place. But I've never got it checked. Never. And the thing is, my back, it's only pain if you're focusing on the pain. That's all.
Yeah, it's true.
If it's too much, then that's understandable.
I love it. I love to get my dance on, and I don't, with the fatigue that I can have in my legs sometimes, I tell you, I don't let it stop me though. Like you said, Chris, it's about movement. That pain telling me, girl, you need to stretch it and move it a little bit.
Exactly.
And then it does feel better. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Most definitely true.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know if there's anything else. What about you, Andrea? Is there anything else?
No, I think that we were doing a wonderful job for having our 599th show. And we had to have Chris on this wonderful show today. So thank you, because you gave me permission, Chris, on my things. Adam, he always gives me permission on certain myself. So what you do, you ignite that mindset for me to go after a different woman now, different men now. So thank you.
Whatever that was.
I missed a lot of that.
Yeah, I missed a lot of that as well.
I'm sure it was good.
I'm sure it was good, yeah.
I mean, I'm here for anybody. So anybody watching this broadcast, you guys can connect with me by going to noexcusescoach.com, noexcusescoach.com. My social media is there. My YouTube's there. Both of my podcast shows, the Raw and Unscripted Show and the Unfiltered Experience, are there in playlists. I do walk and talk videos. I'm posting constantly on social media. So whatever I can do to serve you and serve your audience, by all means, reach out to me. I'm glad to do anything. And I just appreciate you guys having me on the show. The time went by like that. And I knew it was going to be, because we're all fired up about, what we can do. And thank you, Robert, for being here and sharing this opportunity with us. Robert's a great fan of my show. So thank you, Robert, for being here. You're awesome. And anytime I can support you guys, I've got your back.
Absolutely. Well, you're back on Wednesday anyway, which it will be 6 p.m. UK, so it'll be 10 a.m. your time.
Cool. I will put it in my calendar.
Exactly, which is all about all men's mental health, which I did message you, Robert, see if you wanted to come on as well. So, yeah, all about all men, which I'm going to be on that show as well as a guest.
Sweet. Let's
I
rock and roll.
know. Can't wait.
Yeah, I had a men's group club on Clubhouse for about a year and a half. It was all devoted to men's health and men's mental health, and talking about our vulnerabilities and our insecurities. So I'm excited for that. Thank you.
I need to get on Clubhouse. I do. I need to get onto it.
Yeah, I just did a Clubhouse.
Because now it's on Android, so I can download it.
Yep. Yeah, it's all free and it's all open.
Yeah. All right then. Right. Well, that's all. Okay. So thanks all. This one's going to be on Spotify probably by the weekend, and yeah, that's it. We're wrapping up for the week.
Sweet.
So we'll see you later.
Very nice meeting you, Andrea. Thank you, and hope the winds die down there in Nebraska.
Yeah. All right. See you later.